What's up, Sassy? It's your girl Sassy J, and welcome back to my channel, guys. It is time for episode 6 review of Love is Blind UK. Now, guys, before I get into the video, there's a few things I need to clarify. Starting with number 1, please ignore my bonnet. You're seeing it, but you're not seeing it, okay? I decided to pull my hair out, my natural hair, the one that grows on my head, and not the one that I purchased in the shop. Yes, guys, I decided I was going to do that to give it a wash. And then I decided I was going to do this video, so I had to put it in a bonnet. So ignore this. You're not seeing it, okay? You are not seeing it. Also, I just want to point out that I'm doing this video without my lighting from my ring light because where my window is open, all the sun is coming in and it's messing with the lighting. So I'm hoping I can rectify this in the editing process, but just to pre-warn you, just in case the lighting is corrupt. But anyways, guys, another thing before I get into the video, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. Please subscribe. We're trying to get to 5K subscribers before the end of the year. But anyways, guys, let's get into the video. So the cracks are showing in the couples, and I'm not just talking about Ollie and Demi. I'm now talking about Freddie and Catherine, and also Tom and Maria. But before I get into them, let's talk about Ollie and Demi first. Okay, so you know what? I'm starting to think maybe we got Ollie and Demi a little bit wrong. Hear me out. Let me land. I think, being in this situation is overwhelming. And we have to remember that they are still strangers, right? Because they've only just met and now they're expecting to be married, right? And this is a big step and it's an overwhelming step. And I feel like we need to remember this, and even though I think, do you know what it is? Because we see all the other couples all lovey-dovey on and kissing and all that kind of stuff, we are blinded by that, so to speak, and not realizing that, okay, people go at different pace and people feel differently about certain situations. And from what I could tell with this episode, it seems that they look to me seem like they're introverts struggling to be okay in this group, because we hear Ollie telling Benaya that he feels a bit overwhelmed, he feels isolated, and he felt like he had doubts about the whole thing with him and Demi, because he looks around and he see everybody all touchy-feely, and he feels like, because him and Demi are not like that, they're not into the PDA, it kind of gives him doubt and let him question himself and the relationship that he has with Demi, which I completely understand that. You know what it is? It's hard. I think, not everyone can be in a crowd and feel comfortable in a crowd. And I think with the outside noise, because, I think Ollie is definitely getting a lot of the blame in the situation. We got to be honest, including myself, has blamed Ollie, not blamed, but kind of called him out on a few things, right? And to be fair with you, I think it's just both ways. And when I say both ways, I mean both ways in a sense where I think they're both struggling to be in the group. I think they're both struggling with, the crowded situation, the whole situation of now, oh my God, now this is marriage. We're engaged. This is not boyfriend and girlfriend. This is actually husband and wife situation. I think they're both struggling with this. I think they're both struggling with the communication also. And we did hear Demi say that, I struggle with communication. But at the same time, I was glad that she was able to open up to Ollie in that situation, because I felt like she needed to say something. She needed to say how she was feeling, because when you keep that in, things becomes very, very difficult, okay? Guys, it's so dark on this side. I can't be bothered. I don't know. Let me see if I can turn my light on. No, do you know what? I'm leaving it. I'm going to try brighten it. But yes, and I feel like, I like how he reassured her in that moment as well and let her know that it's okay. It's okay to be jealous. It's okay to be upset. Do you know what I'm saying? You're a human being, because I think Demi was feeling those emotions, but I feel like she was holding back because of how she felt she would come across to Ollie, and she didn't want to come across as a certain type of person. Do you know what I'm saying? And for me, it just made things worse. And do you know what it is? I get why the other couples are looking at them thinking, they're not happy, Demi's not happy. And I guess why they're pinpointing it at Ollie, because the girls know that Demi really likes Ollie. But at the same time, is it really fair? Because, it could just be a PDA thing. Not everyone is touchy-feely in public. Do you know what I'm saying? And I feel like he himself said he feels isolated, that there's no one having his back. So I feel like also, not only is he overwhelmed by the crowded situation, overwhelmed by the fact that he's meant to be getting married, but now he feels overwhelmed and he feels like everyone is against him, and it's kind of hard to focus on that kind of like coupling the relationship between him and Demi when you kind of feel like any minute now somebody's going to attack you, right? So I completely understand from his point of view as well. And Demi tried to, you know, stick up for him. You see what she's telling the girls, like, listen, it's not Ollie, it's just me, it's not Ollie. I feel a bit overwhelmed with the situation. He does reassure me, he does make me feel beautiful. I know what he's like in our own space, but I do feel like, you know, somehow Ollie's becoming the villain. He's getting the villain role thrust on him. That's how I feel in the situation. And I do understand where Jasmine is coming from, where she wants to stick up for her friend, and I respect it and I love it, because at the end of the day, it's good that she's letting Ollie know that, listen, I have Demi's back in this, and I want to see her happy. I want her best interest. But at the same time, I feel like she came down hard on him. And when there's so much pressure on you already, I feel like it can break a person. And I think what we saw was him breaking, because he got up and walked away, because he was saying to Demi, like, I just wanted to leave, you know? And she was like, there's nothing more I can do. And I can see where Demi is trying, she wants to calm him down. And I think she doesn't want the scene. She doesn't want that scene. So I think that's where she was lying on him and trying to like hold his hand and stuff and be gentle or whatever, because I feel like she doesn't want that scene, because you can tell that she was embarrassed when he walked away, and anybody would be embarrassed. But it's like, it's a hard one, guys. Comment down below, let me know what you think. But I feel like it's a really hard one, because I do feel like I could understand where he's coming from, and I would have probably felt the same way, you know, felt attacked, felt isolated, felt like I don't want to be there. You know, I feel like they just need their own time. I think that's what it is. They need their own time. Some people strive in a crowd, some people don't, right? Some people, they just don't feel comfortable in such a crowded setting. And I think we just need to remember that they only know each other for a certain amount of time. And if it was like us within the real world, when somebody's expecting us, like, wait, say for instance, you meet a guy and, you know, within like a 2-3 weeks, he's talking about marriage. You know how that freaks us out. Even when they talk about relationship, that sometimes freaks some of us out, because we're like, oh my God, it's too soon. So imagine the situation that they're in. And I know they know what they signed up to, but at the same time, they're human being, and it doesn't stop them from feeling a certain way. And I feel like they just need to go by their own pace and kind of just like ignore the outside noise. I think that's the best thing for them. But I'm really starting to think maybe, you know, that's what they need. They just need, look at this damn light. Look at this. Somebody come take a look at this. Look at this. Look how I come out nice. Sure. I'm hoping I can rectify this, guys. But yeah, I just feel like maybe we judge them a bit wrong. Maybe they just need to go at their own pace, right? So let's see how that goes. But anyways, we see Tom and Maria, you know, and it's funny how the table turned, because Maria was telling Tom, like, listen, I think all the couples are happy except for Demi and Ollie. But now we see towards the end of episode 6 where Tom and Maria is having kind of like a disagreement, and she basically is crying in this situation because she was telling him, listen, I think you spend too much time on your phone. And he was like, oh, that's because I'm a top PR person. And then she says to him, what was your thoughts when you found out that I was a makeup artist? And he said, you know what, I was judgmental. And for me, I can understand from Maria's point of view, because here's the thing, Tom is saying that he wants somebody that is kind of like-minded like him, you know, ambitious, you know, work hard because he wants to live a good life. And I think that's fair enough. And I think that's okay. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants to live a good life. But at the same time, it's not good to hear that you're willing to judge somebody because of the job that they do. A job doesn't define a person. And I think that surprised me with Tom, because I never saw that coming. For me, not because you work in PR or whatever job that you do does not mean that you need to look down on somebody who does a job that you feel like does not fit into your category of things. But you know what, let's not get ahead of ourselves, because, you know, he did say like automatically he judged because he felt, you know, makeup artists mean that person is vain, all about themselves, da 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 da. But I don't know if that's really what he thought. I feel like he just thought of it as a job that was beneath him. I think that's what it is, but he's probably trying to pretty it up a little bit. But obviously that didn't make Maria emotional, because she's like, you know what, if you're gonna judge somebody that you don't know by their job, I mean, that's a little bit stupid. And you see where she kind of pulled away a little bit and turned away, and he got up, and she starts to cry and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure they're going to talk it through. What does make me kind of a bit nervous though, because we haven't yet seen the part where Natasha joins the scene yet, so I'm wondering if that's going to be in episode 7, because is this going to be the straw that breaks the camel back? Because in the conversation, Tom was saying, jobs are one of the reasons that breaks up relationship, and Maria was like, no, it's not. You know what I'm saying? We have to compromise. And I don't think jobs, yes, in some cases jobs can break relationships, but I don't think in the way that he's putting it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it's more like, you have a job that you don't have time for your partner. You're probably here, there, everywhere, and that partner feels neglected. In that way, a job can. You know what I'm saying? Or sometimes people are competing against each other, especially if they work for the same company, they're trying to compete against each other about roles, etc. But I don't think in the way that he feels. But to be honest, it goes back to when he asked her, what do you see yourself as a wife, or our relationship as, when she said to him that she doesn't mind staying home. It goes back to then when he basically was like, I don't want a wife that stays home. So it could just be that he's saying, listen, I just want somebody that's ambitious, independent, and all of that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I don't know how to think about it or feel about it, but let's give him a chance to explain himself in the next episode. But I do think it's quite ignorant for you to judge somebody on what they do, regardless of what they do. Even if you're a director for a company, I feel like it would be unfair for someone to judge somebody, to assume that because they're a director, they're a bit snobby, or they're gonna be up their own self or whatever. And even if a cleaner, you know what, it's normal life. People are judgmental, because I've known friends that would say, oh, I would never date somebody who is a street cleaner, or I'd never date anyone that does this or any kind of cleaning that. I don't think that defines a person. Who a person is different from what they do as a job. You know what I'm saying? And honest living is an honest living. So I don't really care about that. But, I guess, it is society, it is what people do in these day and age. They do judge people quite a lot. We're judged by what we look like. We're judged by what we do as jobs. We're judged by everything these days. But let's see what will happen. I'm sure they're gonna sort their things out. I'm hoping they're gonna sort this out. They're gonna have a conversation as adults and kind of like air it out and compromise, because that's what Maria said. In a relationship, you have to compromise. But let's see how that goes. But anyways, guys, let's talk about Catherine and Freddie for a minute, because obviously Catherine is talking to Freddie and they're talking about the stuff that, is annoying each other at this moment. She's saying, you know what, you leave the toilet seat up, and he's saying, well, I don't like the whole sniffle thing, and they're laughing about it. So she asked him, do you trust me completely? And he said, listen, I trust what we have, and she's asking her, do you trust me completely? And she said, well, I want to trust you, but I have doubts in things, because I struggle to believe that I deserve you, right? And this is obviously insecurity, because if you remember where at the beginning of the first episode, she said that normally guys see her as someone to have sex with, right? So she's now saying to him, like, listen, I feel like, even though you tell me that you love me, I feel like I would need constant reassurance, because I still don't feel like I deserve you. And I guess you can kind of see some of those kind of like vibes from her sometimes, the way she looks at him, previously, not in this episode, because I'm gonna get to that, but normally the way she just looks a little bit excited and a little bit frightened for him, I can get what she's saying there. It makes sense, right? But at the same time, I feel like Catherine is one of them intense person. And when I say intense person, I mean like one of those intense person that blows things out of proportion and don't know when to let things go, because it's the way they had the conversation. And she asked Freddie, have you ever cheated? And he told her yes. Now you've got to respect him for being honest, because he could have lied about it, but he chose not to. He wanted to build this relationship on honesty. Now she said, like, obviously, you know, this has planted doubts in her, and I understand this, because, you know, when you're dating somebody and you hear that somebody's cheated, you start to think to yourself, okay, he cheated on his partner, what's to stop him from cheating on me? And it's one of those things that if you're not careful will get into your head, right? I understand, because I've been told by somebody I was getting to know, and he told me that he cheated before. And for me, I still feel like I couldn't trust him in that situation, not because of his past, that was not it, but because of certain red flags that I was picking up. And I thought to myself, okay, he said that he's past that kind of living. He said that he's over that life. He's now changed his life. But for me, there was things in his actions that gave me doubt to think, okay, I don't think that you're actually, you know, past those stages in your life. I feel like you still, you know, it's a possibility that you still might do it. Not because he's cheated, but because of his actions that I've been seeing, right? Or I was seeing, okay? But anyway, why am I laughing? Anyways, guys, I completely understand her doubts in that situation. However, for me, I felt like they had that conversation. It was an honest conversation. But when they went out and they started meeting the other couples, I just felt like the way she made things look so tense, that the eye contact, the way she was looking at him, I just felt like you guys had a conversation, right? That conversation was out of the crowd. It was between you and him. You guys don't need to let that spew into, you know, when other people are around. I feel like the way she was just looking at him, I don't know, maybe I'm just reading into it, but there was awkwardness between them when they're with the couple. You do see where they were talking about this afterwards, where Freddie got very emotional about it, started crying, and he said, you know what, I don't want to be judged by this, you know, because that's not who I am. I made a mistake, and I want to be the perfect man for you, and I just don't want you to think that I'm not that person, or I won't be that person. And I don't want you to think that I'm going to cheat on you or hurt you, because that's not my plan, and I don't want to do this. I completely understand that. I get what Catherine is saying, because she said she used to think that once a cheat is always a cheat. And to be honest with you, I used to think so too. I used to say once a cheat, always a cheat. But then I got older and I realized that once a cheat is not always a cheat, right? Because there's many reasons why people cheat, and sometimes people genuinely make a mistake and they learn from the mistake. Now, the ones that learn from the mistake are very few, don't get me wrong, but there are 1 and 2 that actually make mistake and they learn from that mistake. So I don't believe now in this day and age that once a cheat is always a cheat. It might be so in probably about 90% of the time, but there's still that 10% that, you know, they generally just make a mistake. But that is it, guys. So now they're back in the real world. They got their phones back. They're going to start meeting the family and friends in episode 7, I think. So it's interesting to see how that's going to happen, because, you know, obviously Ollie and Demi was already struggling with the outside noise within the villa, but now they've left that situation. They're in their own apartments. They've got their phones back. Now they're going to have family and friends in their ears. Are they going to survive this? It's the same thing with Catherine and Freddie. Will they survive this? Tom and Maria, what will happen? You know, Nicole and Benaya seems really loved up in this moment. He gave her a ring to make it official, because he didn't give her when they met, because he said he wasn't sure what direction he was going to go into. But now he's like put a ring on and they sealed the deal. So things are looking really good for them. Sabrina and Tom, I'm not gonna lie, I do love seeing them together. I feel they were the first couple to get engaged, and you know what it is? I just love how they are together. They're so loved up, they're so cute. Do you know what I'm saying? I like that, and I just hope that, you know, when they meet the friends and family, they don't face any obstacle to kind of ruin that, if you know what I mean. But anyways, guys, I think that is it. I think I'm gonna have to watch episode 7 a bit later tonight when I get back home. But yes, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens, because I'm really hoping that Ollie and Demi gets to, you know, bond a bit more, you know, get a bit closer. I think they needed their own space. I feel like they're just too introverted, and it was too overwhelming for them in that setting. And I hope now in this setting when it's just more one-to-one, because you hear where Demi said, you know what, I'm liking this, I'm liking that we're going at our own pace, and I'm excited to see everyone again. But Ollie was like, no, I don't want to see everyone again. Do you know what I'm saying? I think it's understandable, because for him, he was the one that was being painted as the villain. He's the one that everyone was coming at, if that makes any sense. So I get it. And everyone was feeling sorry for Demi, and, you know, Demi was trying to stick up for Ollie, but it's just hard. It's really, really hard. There's just so many people in your business. Is really, really hard. So let's see how it plays out in episode 7. But anyways, guys, if you've gotten to this far in the video and you haven't yet thumbs up the video, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, welcome, please subscribe. And I'll see y'all in my next review. But for now, keep it sassy-licious.